Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing another tutorial. This is just kind of like a freestyle set mixed with some inspo. My client kind of came in, told me what she wanted, and we're going to make some magic. So make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into this tutorial. So as you can see, I always start by pushing my client's cuticle back with a cuticle pusher, and you do want to be a little bit gentle with this because if you're too rough, it will hurt. You're not trying to take the cuticles off, you just want to slightly push them back and expose the entire nail. So now I'm going around the entire cuticle area with my cone shaped drill bit. This is really good for using for the cuticle area because it does get rid of all the nitty gritty, any dead nail, dead skin cell, all of that. It just completely helps to clean and clear out that newly exposed nail that we are now seeing from pushing back the cuticle. And so now I'm going around the cuticle area as well as covering the entire nail with a 180 grit sanding band. This is super important, y'all, because this is what gets rid of the natural shine. The natural shine is something that we all produce from just natural oils, and this will prevent the acrylic from bonding to the nail and will definitely cause lifting. So you do want to make sure that you're just lightly running across the entire nail, getting rid of that natural shine. And so here we're just applying the nail tips, and so this client is doing medium, I want to say maybe medium longish. That's not really important, but she is keeping the square shape, so we're just applying each tip. Now as y'all can see, I already have the tips laid out per finger. Off camera I did measure them, and so as you can see, I'm just applying a drop of glue right in the center of the nail, and then I am making sure to line each nail tip up with the previous nail tip. You want to make sure that they are nice and straight and following each other. Sometimes when you place it following the client's finger, it might be looking a little crooked. So that's just because, you know, some people just have naturally crooked fingers. So you want to make sure that they are all lining up with each other. And you don't want the nail to be too small or too big. Now, if you do have to pick, definitely go too big because you can just file down the sides for it to fit. But you don't want it to be too small because then you'll have to apply pressure, which will in turn cause lifting or even a nail to pop off. So now that we have them placed, I went ahead and cut them to her desired length. And now I'm just taking that same sanding band and I'm blending the nail and the natural, oh, I said that backwards. I'm blending the nail tip and the natural nail together, and you just want to be very light with this, very brief. It's just to blend, which will help with retention. I'm going in with my Mia Secret dehydrator, and this literally is just another layer of getting rid of those natural oils. This just completely dehydrates the nail. One coat of this is definitely enough. I know some people use two. I only use one and it does the job. But you do want to make sure that you're covering the entire nail. And now I'm going in with Mia Secret Extra Bond, and this is just like a primer. This is what will help the acrylic adhere to the nail, and I do 2 coats of this. That's totally optional, but I've done 2 coats as far as I can remember, so you know, to each his own. But again, you do want to cover the entire nail, and after doing these 2 steps, you want to make sure that your client is being very careful not to touch anything on the nail or the natural nail bed, because then it will kind of eliminate the purpose of even doing those 2 steps. And you want these areas to be, you know, free of any lint, any dust, any debris, anything at all. So I always tell my clients once after I do those 2 steps, you know, if they're returners, then they already know the vibes, they already know what to do. But for my new clients, I do let them know, like, hey, try not to touch anything, just keep your hands kind of still, and yeah, we'll be good. So I'm going in with my Mia Secret Nude Blush, and this is going to be what I use for all of the nails, because she's doing a nude base, and then the rest of, you know, any color, any design is all coming from the gel. So we'll get into that obviously later on in the tutorial. But I took my first bead and I just applied it where the natural nail and the nail tip meet. And obviously because the pinky is smaller, like smaller in diameter, I don't have to use as many beads. This is different for every client, but in this case I did just go ahead and place my first bead where the natural nail and the nail tip meet, because after feathering it down, it does build up a nice apex. And so now I am going in with my second bead, I'm going in towards the cuticle area. You want to be careful because you do not want to place the bead right on the cuticle. You want to place it right below, because as you feather it down, it will slide up a little bit, which will cause it to fall right in place. So don't panic though, because if you do happen to get any acrylic on the cuticle area or on the skin, you just simply take your brush and wipe around the cuticle area and clean off any acrylic. It's easier and best to do this while the acrylic is still wet, because it'll just, wipe right off. Sometimes it can give you a little trouble, but just take your time. And the reason why this is important, to make sure that there is absolutely no acrylic on the cuticle area or the skin, is because you will get lifting. So definitely make sure that you're staying neat and clean, or at least trying to, throughout your entire acrylic application. As you can see, regardless if I have any acrylic on the skin or not, I still just wipe out of habit. That's totally optional, but I do it just to be safe, and I have never had any problems with lifting. I've never had any acrylic on the skin. Might as well, rather be safe than sorry. It takes literally not even 60 seconds for each finger, so might as well do it. And as you can see, as I'm working with the acrylic, I'm working with medium beads, medium-sized beads, and then of course they're not too dry or not too wet. So if you're somebody that struggles with monomer to acrylic ratio, you do just want to kind of take your time and learn that, because there isn't really a skill. And then you have some nail techs that work with dry beads and some nail techs that work with very wet beads. So it really, there isn't any right or wrong, but I feel like if you're a beginner watching this, definitely try to just practice and get a bead that is not too wet or not too dry. As you can see, after I pick my bead up, I do kind of just wave it a little bit, and I do kind of hold it in place and just play with it a little bit. Not really playing with it, I'm just positioning it, placing it, but that just helps it, kind of start to neutralize and set just a little bit, and then I go ahead and feather it down. And I'm emphasizing on feathering because you don't want to pat, you don't want to drag, because it will just eventually get stuck in your brush, and or you could just be wiping off most of your product, which is just wasting your time and your product, your money. It's a lose-lose. So you just want to work very lightly when you are pulling down that bead. I shouldn't even say pulling it, but when you're feathering that bead down, you do want to just be mindful. And as you can see here, I am again wiping around my client's cuticle area and wiping the sides of the nail as well as the free edge. And this just helps keep that shape and keep everything nice and clean. Of course, we do file it in the end, but as you all will see in the end, once we get to that part of the video, it just makes it so much more easy when it's nice and clean and neat. It makes the sealing of the cuticle area easy. It makes the filing easy. So just try to keep that in mind. And also, you do want to make sure that you are constantly wiping your brush and keeping your brush free of any acrylic. As you can see, I'm making sure to wipe on my paper towels. I use Viva, by the way. It's like the purple Viva signature cloth. Y'all, I've been doing nails for almost 5 years. I am still trying to figure out what works best for me, because I really do not know. I'm trying to figure out, I like Viva. I've tried Bounty. I've tried off-brand. I've tried the little dental bib things. I've tried so many things, y'all, and yeah. They just don't seem to work for me. And like I said, I love Viva. I do have a, kind of some issues. Not enough to make me stop using them, but I would like to try to find something better. So if you are a nail tech, beginner, experienced, whatever, and have some recommendations, definitely comment down below, because I have tried everything. Probably not everything, I'm being dramatic, but I have tried a lot. And yeah, so back to what I was saying, the whole point of me getting into that is you do want to find some paper towels, whatever you want to call them, cloths, napkins, whatever, that do work for you, because if not, in the end, you're not going to be cleaning your brush after each nail, after each bead, and eventually that will just cause the acrylic to, you're going to keep dipping into that monomer, so the acrylic is going to stay wet. It's hard to notice most of the time. But when you get to the last nail, you go ahead and put your brush up. You come back to do your next client. You got big old beads of dried acrylic, and now you got a problem. And usually it's easy to clean. Like, you just dip it in some acetone for, maybe 2-3 minutes. Wipe it out, clean it out, whatever. They do sell like brush cleaning solution, whatever. But, it's usually, if you just have little bits and pieces, it's not too much to fix. But, like, rather be safe than sorry. I'm going to keep saying that. So, yeah, make sure that you're wiping your brush, and you don't want to, you never want to put your brush back in the monomer with acrylic on it, because then it'll just contaminate the monomer. You'll have acrylic floating in it. It's going to mess up the balance of the monomer, and yeah. So just in a nutshell, keep your brush clean. Make sure that you are taking the time to just, wipe it on your little paper towel, keep it acrylic free, and you'll be good. So as you can see, I kind of bounce back and forth between using 2 beads. Sometimes I use 3. You do want to make sure that you're looking at your client's nail from different angles to make sure that it has a nice apex built up. Make sure that it is not too lumpy. You don't want it to be too thick. A lot of people think, especially when you're a beginner, they think that, oh, if I make the nail super thick, it won't break and it won't pop off. And actually, that will harm your client more than it will help your client, because if there's way too much product on a little bitty nail, you gotta see how the balance just ain't there. If they hit it, if it does snap, it's going to be taking a lot with it, because there's a lot holding on to that little bitty nail, versus building it up just enough. You do want to make sure you have a great apex, and by great, you just want to make sure that that's like the heart of your nail. So you don't want other parts of your nail to be thin. Of course, you don't want the apex to be super chunky, but you should just have a slight, from cuticle to free edge, a slight little hump. And if you are somebody who struggles with this, or you're not sure what to look for, definitely look on Google, Instagram, TikTok. There are plenty of videos showing what a good apex should look like. And honestly, if you stick to, it does depend on the length of your nail, the acrylic you're using. Like, there are a few things that can change, like, the factor of what I'm about to say. But in a nutshell, if you stick to a 3, maybe 4 if you're a beginner, or even 2 if you're more experienced bead method, you should have a good apex. And that's why I always place my first bead where the natural nail and the nail tip meet, unless I'm doing like an extra long length. Then I have a kind of a different method, but that's just me. But generally, as you can see here, I always place my first bead where the natural nail and the nail tip meet, and then I just work my way up, placing either one more bead above that, or a bead above that, and then a cuticle bead. Don't take what I'm saying and say, oh, that sounds like too much. It's just me being very informative. It's really not as much as it sounds like. As you can see with my second bead here, I made it my cuticle bead. I went ahead and placed it right where it needed to be, brushed it down, and we're good to go. Now, like I said, make sure that you're looking at your client's hand and nails like from different angles. That way you can see if you need to add more acrylic. It's always better to add more than to have too much, because if you have too much, unless you're going to let your client leave with fat lumpy nails, you're going to have to take the time to file that down in the end, which kind of was just a big waste of time, because you spent all that time applying the acrylic and it was too much, and now you're having to spend all that time filing it off. So work with medium or small beads. That's what I like to say if you're a beginner, and just work your way up and just look at them. If you need to add a bead here or there, boom, you're all good. If it's good to go, you're good to go. It's that simple, rather than be like, dang, I'm stuck with too much, now I got more work to do in the end. So just keep that in mind. But we do have a nice clean application. Usually I insert a video, but I guess I was just rushing this day. So we're going to go ahead and move on to filing. Now, I use an 80 grit file. That is one of the sharpest, if not the sharpest. So when you're filing your client's nails, please pull back their skin. As you know, you use a new file with every client, so you want to make sure that file is going to be very, very sharp. So make sure that you're pulling back their skin, because you do not want to cut them. It will cut them. It's not pretty. Oh, it's such an uncomfortable feeling. So I like to start by filing the sides of the nails, and I just keep the file at a 90-degree angle straight up against the nail. And obviously with square shape, it's going to be a little less filing, especially if you kept your application neat. That full circle, now you see why I said to keep your application neat, because now you don't have a lot of filing to do. You just really are cleaning it up. And a big tip I want to throw in, you do want to make sure that, as you can see, I was kind of like filing the undersides of the nails. A lot of the times with, during the acrylic application, if you're somebody like me who likes to press your brush up against the sides to like keep the shape, sometimes acrylic can kind of seep under the nail. So obviously you'll see that. So you do want to make sure that you're filing that just to give it a nice clean base underneath. That's just a tip I like to give. And then of course, like I said, make sure that you're keeping the file straight up against the nail. That way it'll be nice and even all the way through. And then here at the free edge, as you can see, I'm filing right now. You just want to do the same thing. Place the file straight up against the free edge of the nail and file straight up and down at a 90-degree angle, giving you a nice crisp shape. I always like to tell people that the shape is what really going to determine the quality of the nails. I mean, yeah, the acrylic application is the big part, but when you think about it, you can have some really like a bomb design, but the nails be fat, lumpy, janky. You ain't gonna like them. But if you have a design, but the shape is giving and they're super neat, super clean, it's gonna draw some eyes because they don't look as bad. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like if you have a wig, and if it's laid down right, but the wig is like it's still gonna look okay because it's looking natural. But if you have a really cute wig and it was not installed right, and you can see the lace, you can see the dark spot, it's gonna be like, oh baby, I don't care how good the wig looks because I can see what I ain't supposed to be seeing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of going overboard, but yeah, just make sure that your shape is something that you spend a lot of time on. If you need to, and make sure that you kind of try to master that, because it does make a difference, seriously. And again, you want to make sure that you're flipping your client's hand around at different angles to make sure that everything is nice and even. You don't want any crooked nails. You want the free edge to be nice and straight. And here, I'm just taking my file and just filing over, basically, I don't know how to put this without making it sound confusing. File the top of the nail, but not the cuticle area. And I do this is totally optional, y'all, totally optional, but I do this because I feel like, although I still use a sanding band and I like seal the cuticles, smooth it out, etc., I feel like this has, like, when I started to do my nail art after doing this step, I feel like it applies so much smoother, and I feel like the nails really be buffed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they really be like smooth, neat, clean. Again, it is optional. I've done seen nails that look just as good without doing this step, and even before I did this step, I didn't always do this. I just started doing this in the past year or so. My nails still looked good, but it's just, I feel like during the nail art or top coat, whatever, I feel like during that step, I feel like it applies easier and a little bit better. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, this is optional, so you can totally skip past this part if you'd like. But you do want to be careful though, because it is very easy to, like, as fast as you're moving it, it's easy to nick your client's skin. So be careful, especially the cuticle area. That's why I don't file the cuticle area, because one, it's easy to cut them, and two, you don't really need to, because regardless if you do that step or not, you have to do this step 100%. This is sealing the cuticle area, and I'm using that same sanding band. You can use a sanding band, you can use a ceramic bit, you can use, they have plenty of different options. But me personally, I be in my moods, y'all. I really bounce back and forth between a ceramic bit and a sanding band. It really just depends. Right now, for the past couple months, I've been feeling the sanding band vibe. A few months before that, I was using a ceramic drill bit. So it really just depends on what you're feeling, but you have to do this step 100%. This is, like I said, sealing the cuticle. So what this does is make sure that the acrylic is nice and flush with your client's cuticle. area. You want the nails to be looking like they just grew out your client's cuticle, okay? You don't want no fatness, you don't want no lumps, you don't want no thick, bulky, press-on looking nails. You want everything to be nice and flush and filed. And then I do like to do 2 extra steps with this. As you can see, I'm taking the sanding band and I am filing like the underside of the free edge, and that is just because, again, I do take my brush during the application and press up against it, which can sometimes cause acrylic to get underneath there. So this just really cleans it up and gives it an even more crisp of a look. And then I do also file the sides of the nails if needed, but usually I would say like 7 out of the 10 nails needs it. I just do it because I feel like it makes it look even better. So any little thing that I can do to add, you know, quality to the nails, I'm gonna do it. So I feel like that helps. And then of course, since I used that hand file over the nail, you don't have to file the entire nail, but I still do it just to ensure, like I said, anything I can do to improve that quality or add to it, I'm gonna do. So this is just to ensure that, you know, I just briefly run it over the entire nail to make sure that it's all nice and even, nice and smooth. And then here I'm taking my buffer. This is probably the easiest step out of the whole start to finish, you know, process of nails. You just take your buffer and you buff the entire nail. You got to get the cuticle area, you got to get the literally top to bottom, left to right. And sometimes I even like to buff the undersides of the nails. I feel like that just helps because we did do some filing under there, make it not as sharp, you know. But yeah, so then after this I apply cuticle oil and have my clients wash their hands with soap, antibacterial. You don't need no extra. So now we're about to get into the nail art part of it. So she wanted to do a neon black, white, I was going to say gray, but I forgot we took the gray out. So we're going to be doing like a little artsy set. So yeah, I was really nervous to use this neon color at first because like when I ordered it, it looked like the color that we were going for. But then when I opened it, it looked like one of those like neons where you have to put white underneath. So yeah, it turned out to be exactly what we were needing. So I actually am really happy about ordering this color. It's one of my first times using it, and I'm going to definitely use this color a lot more. So on the pinky, we just are going to be doing like some swirl type of vibe with each color. So as you can see, the neon is like the main color here. So we just started by outlining the cuticle and then just doing like a S type of vibe. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like really simple, as you can see. And then we are going to be doing a lot of French tip. So the pinky and the thumb are going to be the same. The lines are just going to be a little bit different. The finger that I'm doing right now is going to be a croc French tip. So it's going to be a French tip, obviously. And then afterward, you know, once you put the top coat and everything on, you guys will see all of that. We're going to be doing like the croc print, which is super easy to do. Now, if you are somebody that struggles with French tip, do not get discouraged because I have literally been doing nails, like I said, for exactly 5 years, and I feel like I just got my French tips like to my liking. Now, there are so many different methods that you can do to accomplish a French tip. You really just got to find the one that works best for you, because even still now I struggle sometimes. I might have to wipe it off and try again, but I mean, that's no matter how good you are, no matter how experienced, you know, sometimes you do just have those days. So me personally, I like to start by outlining like the sides, as you can see I did, and then I just like to start, you know, whichever side I'm feeling at the moment, and go ahead and bring one side of the French down, connect it on the other side, and then just, you know, clean it up and fill it in. So and if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I guess one thing I didn't know about this color, and like I do use all gel obviously, but I guess, you know, some gels just kind of are very runny. Yeah, this color is definitely like that. So it kind of got in the cuticle area a little bit, so I just had to clean that up and I went ahead and cured it. I like to do my nail art, I try to bounce back and forth. Like if as you've seen, I was using the neon, so I tried to go ahead and use the neon that I could do off this one hand first and then do it on the other, because I hate to keep switching my brush back and forth. So I feel like I try to eliminate it as much as possible rather than um, just do like one whole hand at once. And I do feel like with certain designs, this being one of them, this pinky, it's definitely easier to do when like you have to do it in portions. So if that, as you see, I just messed up with the white, right? If the neon would have still been wet, there would have been, with like as tight of a space there is that I'm working with to do this white, there would have been no way that I could have wiped that off without messing up the neon. So I would have had to wipe that off too. So as you can see, with certain designs, it is easier to just go ahead and cure in between. That way, prime example, how I messed up, I was able to just wipe that white off and redo it without having to redo the whole nail. So with the white on this design, or this part of the design, we're just doing another random swirl. So it's kind of like going on one side of the neon. And y'all, I don't know why I was struggling with this. I feel like I wasn't really like struggling per se, but it was trying to get the curve, like to loop it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, but as you can see, I'm just redoing it. Like, one thing you have to learn as a nail tech, whether you're new or experienced, sometimes you just have to keep redoing it, and that's okay. You want your client to leave with, obviously if it's the design that they want, you want to put out good work, and sometimes you just have to keep redoing it until it gets exactly, gets to be what you were hoping for. And sometimes it don't be you. Sometimes it just be the product, or you be the brush, or just emotions in the wrist that day. Like, it's okay to have to restart and wipe it off. Nobody is perfect. I don't know how many times I don't have to redo a design. Sometimes I even don't have to tell a client, look, girl, I know I can do this. We might have to try next time though, because for some reason it's just not rocking right now. Okay? So yeah. But anyways, as you can see, I ended up getting it down. It was a simple line. I just wanted it to be nice and clean, and it wasn't doing that at first. So yeah, we had to keep doing it. So now I'm going to be doing on the ring and the pointer finger. It's a white French tip, and it's going to be outlined in the neon color. And then we're going to be having on one of them, I forget which is which. I think the ring finger we're going to have cow print, and the pointer we're going to have zebra print. And it sounds pretty simple, which in all, it is really simple. But it turned out cute, y'all. I just like the combo. So here we are, just doing a white French. As you can see, I started by outlining the sides all the way down to the free edge. I just looped one side, looped the other, connected it, cleaned it up, and filled it in. And a lot of people sometimes use their nail, like the actual nail polish brush, to fill it in. I just like to use the same brush that I'm using because one, it helps me like kind of spread out the excess polish, and two, I just feel like I'm more careful when I use this versus using the nail polish brush. I have tried to use that, and then my wrist, just my muscles just work against me, and then I have a little twitch or something, and now I mess up the whole French tip. I don't know, which sometimes it still does happen with this little brush, but it's more rare. So another thing that you want to make sure you're doing is definitely making sure to wipe the sides of the nails. Now granted, you don't want to literally wipe the sides of the nails. You want to more so go for like the underside, and that is just to get rid of any excess polish because it will take away from your shape. Worst case scenario, if you do feel like you have, after your nails are done, top coat is on, if you feel like you have some bubbles or it just ain't shaping, you can take your file and like file the free edge, which I normally do for French tips anyways. And if you feel like you need to file the sides a little bit, definitely do that. Just be careful. You don't want to take off any polish, but you definitely don't want the nails to be all weird shaped. So that's why I just say literally right before curing them, make sure that you wipe the sides, like the undersides, to get rid of that excess polish, which is pretty normal. Gel is thick. And so here on the thumb, I'm doing kind of the same design, like the line type of vibe that we did on the pinky. They're going to be different lines going in different directions, so it is going to be a little bit different, but same idea essentially. And I don't know, y'all, it was just something that I just said, like, I feel like because it was just everything that she wanted, and I just loved the color combo. I loved everything. Like I said, just doing it, I had so much fun. It should always be the goal. You know what I want? I mean, it can be stressful sometimes being in the place and doing this, doing this type of work, but you just have to have faith and have patience. I always tell people that come into my salon and sit in my chair, they're like, "Oh, you have any patience?" Girl, don't do it if you don't have no patience. Because I do have patience for sure. So I went ahead and carried that, and now we are just outlining the two French tips on the ring and the pointer finger with that neon green. This is pretty simple, but I will say when doing something like this, it does depend on what look you're going for, but you do want to kind of just make sure you're working a little more on the lighter side. You don't want to have too much polish because it will just cause your line to look super thick, and it just won't look as clean. Now granted, if that's the look you're going for, then cool, but yeah, sometimes it can definitely take away from the French tip. So you just want to make sure that you are working with a little less polish than normal, so it can still be outlined and still be vibrant, or not vibrant depending on what color you're using, but still give what it needs to give without taking away from the French tip and just making it look super thick and bulky, And yeah, this one's pretty simple. Believe it or not, something as simple as this used to be kind of hard for me. I just feel like I used to apply too much pressure, which would spread the polish out, or I used to just use too much polish, and it just didn't always give what it needed to give, but we got it. And if you feel like you mess up, just take a nail brush with a little bit of acetone and just clean up it, wherever you feel it needed. As you can see, I did the same thing here. I just cleaned up as much as I could, filled it back in if I needed to, and let it cure. Now let her cure. So now I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this pinky nail because we have every color on here except for the black line that we want to do. So it's going to go on the opposite side of the neon line, and I don't even remember what motion I did it in, but it was just a little line that's going on that side, which is super easy to do. When I'm doing designs like this, I just say to take your time and work more slowly, or more slower than usual. I just feel like everything ends up being more precise, and I'd rather just do it once. I mean, if I gotta do it, more than once, then cool, but I'd rather do it once than try to rush. I gotta keep doing it, And so on this finger, we're gonna be doing the cow print. So what I did was, wait, give me that's a good question. So I am doing the zebra print on this one. Literally, y'all. Okay, I'm not gonna say no cap. It's just as simple as just drawing squiggly lines, because you do low key gotta make it a little. You gotta make it look like a zebra print. You can't just be slapping lines on there. But I will say that it's really not. It doesn't take much effort. I always like to still pull up a reference picture, just to kind of give me a little reminder before doing it. But you just want to put a regular amount of polish on your brush, not too much again, because you don't want the lines to be super thick. But you just want to put a regular amount of polish on your brush, and you're literally just want to start at the side of the nail. That way it connects. You don't want it to be start in the middle of the nail, but you just kind of squiggle it, as you can see I'm doing here. And what I did is I kind of started from the bottom, and I worked my way up to the sides, and then I always go back anytime I'm doing any animal print design, but especially with zebra. And I just see if I can add a little squiggle here. Sometimes I like to do the two lines that kind of look like a wishbone or like a V, but squiggly. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but zebra print does, I feel kind of come off to look a little harder than what it is. So definitely just take your time, practice, because I used to be so intimidated by zebra print. Why? I don't know, but we here now, so I went ahead and did that. Boom, that's the finished result. This one is the cow print. This one is a little bit easier. It just takes, like I said, but this one's definitely easier. So I just like to take my dotting tool And I just dip it in the black polish, and I literally just kind of, I don't want to say wiggle it around like randomly, but I kind of just make it like a little paint splatter, and I just, do it in a few different directions to give it that cow print. And of course, I work my way up, but again, I don't make all of them. You don't want them to be all the same, which is also a good thing about the zebra print and the cow print. They're not all going to be the same. So, literally, that's not how it is in real life on a cow. So, they're all uniform. They look the same, but they're not the exact same, and that's okay. So, I just kind of, randomly fill them in, and then I do like to just put a little, like some small dots just to really bring it to life. You don't have to. It really just depends on you and your client, what you and your client want, but I feel like the little dots and the smaller blobs, if that's what you want to call them, just kind of like bring it to life and really give it cow print. I always do the dots after doing the cow print blobs because I just feel like it allows me to fit the main part in first, which is the cow print, and then go in and just add the little oomph, you know what I'm saying? I do them last after I do all the little cow print blobs. Here we're doing the little black line on the thumb. I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I cannot remember the direction or like what went where, but I just, as you can see, work did the little squiggle, called it a day, filled it in, made sure that it was nice and clean. I'm gonna do the same thing with the white. Sometimes y'all want tutorials, I'll be running out of stuff to say. Not because I literally don't know what to say, but it's like, it just be that simple. You know what I'm saying? So, here I am with the white. Now, granted, the reason I didn't cure in between the black and the white is because if I was to wipe, like there's a neon line in between the middle. Literally. So, there's no reason that the white would go over into the black area and the black wouldn't go over into the white area. So if I did need to wipe it off, there's enough space in between that I could just wipe one or the other off. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I did not cure in between. This was kind of pointless. So I'm just doing a little random squiggle here. It's not even random. I had this planned out. Like I knew what the line was going to be when I was doing it, but right now I didn't. I couldn't remember. So in my head it's just like a little random line. But it turned out so cute. I cannot wait for y'all to see the finished results. So here I am just filling it in. And I like to really be precise on my little curves, like the U's, because I feel like it's very obvious when they're not like clean. Like, I don't know, it just makes a big difference. So I went ahead and top coated them all, and I like to use Coupa. As you can see, I'm making sure to cover the entire nail, the free edge, the side. You don't want no paint chipping, and you don't need to use way too much gel. I feel like, not gel, top coat. When you apply an excessive amount of top coat, even if you cover the entire nail, sometimes it'll seep onto like the cuticle area, because it is thick, but then that will cause like lifting, and sometimes I feel like it can cause like clients' polish to like peel back because it's just taking the top coat is peeling off and it's taking the color with it. I don't know, I've seen it happen before. So obviously apply enough, but don't apply too much. And then here I am just wiping the undersides of the nails again, just like you would with polish, to make sure that it keeps that shape. And then I didn't film it, but I do file the free edge of all the French tip nails to make sure that it still has that nice, clean, crispy shape. And we're going to do the croc print. So here I am, I just dipped my nail art brush into the polish again, and I know it might be hard to see me doing them, but depending on the thickness of your French or like how deep you did it will determine like how many lines you do down the center. But it's really simple, y'all. My clients be so shocked when they see this is how you do the design for this. You just start in the middle of the French tip and draw. Just, you can do thin, you can do thick, whatever you and your client like. You just draw lines right underneath of each other. Line them up, make sure they're nice and even. You do smaller lines going down the sides of the nail, obviously, because there's less, room to work with. Once it looks nice, and you're happy with it, make sure none of the lines are, blending together. You pour some acrylic powder over top, making sure that you cover every line because you don't want it to dry. You got to do it while it's wet also. So yeah, you go ahead and cure it for 60 seconds. I used to, well, not used to, I don't know why I said that. I like to take this little brush and dust it off, apply my cuticle oil. This is the finished results. I was so excited for y'all to see them. Aren't they cute? I really, really like them. She loved them. These are definitely in my top 10 of nail sets for the year. And I know we still got a whole year to go, but these are gonna keep their spot for sure. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you made this far, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Love you guys. See you in the next one.